already professor of biochemistry, but I was going to Oxford to work in the Department of Biochemistry with one of the most important biochemists in the history, Professor Hans Krebs. And at the entering of the county of Oxford, there was in the emblem, in the crest wall, was saying, sapere aude. That means you must dare to know. And I said, well, they are right, because this is very ancient, this one phrase of Virgil, I mean, it's very, very. And as this happens very often in the English, they like very much to write in other languages their emblems, as you know. And sapere aude, dare to know. After 2 years there, when I was leaving, I said, I prefer to change. Sapere aude is very important, to dare to know, but then you must know how to dare, because to dare is so important. Otherwise we are silent. We know sometimes the solutions, but we are not able to express ourselves. It's for this that one meeting like that today the Junior Chamber International has is very important, because you have, every one of you have already your own experience, your views, your approaches, and you can interchange this. This exchange of experiences, of views, is extremely relevant. Well, now what can we do? Because, as I have said, we are in an unprecedented situation. There is no precedent in the history for one situation as today, that is global, that we know what happens in the other part of the world, that because during centuries and centuries, even 50 years ago, when you were born in one place, you were living in this place, and you were dying in this place, 50 kilometers round, this was all normally. And you were unable to know what happens in India or in China or in Argentina, nothing, on South Africa, nothing. For the first time now we have a global consciousness, and this is extremely relevant. But there is another issue that is also very important to emphasize, is the women. Because the women, during centuries and centuries, has never appeared in the power scenario. Only for males, finish. And when some women appeared, normally was not very women, by the way, but a part of this, their presence was normally anecdotic, was not. But the women are representative of 50% of humanity for nothing. And now for the first time, we are living fascinating moments, because for the first time now we can say, now the women is already, not yet, when we see the main bankers, there is not yet very top, but now we can be hopeful that perhaps in 5 years, in 10 years, the things will change, because there are already very high positions that has been escalated by their own merits by women. And this is extremely relevant, because we cannot always decide with the male vision of the world. It has been a disaster, because we have preferred always the muscle. And if you see the history, all the history is only the battle, a battle, a battle, a battle, a war, a battle, a battle, a war. Nothing more. Nothing more. And what about the millions and millions and millions of human beings that were sacrificed? This doesn't matter. They were invisibles. Invisibles. I think that the most important role that we have now is to make them visible. It was very important for me to be, when Professor Bernard Loon was being invested as Nobel Laureate of Peace in 1985. He was a cardiologist of the United States, very famous, but at the same time he was against nuclear power and nuclear particularly nuclear armament. And when they were giving him the Nobel Award, he said, the problem is that in the history only appear some visible men. The problem is that today, he said, most of the information we receive is only those that the media make visible, because they are in the flash of the media. Because these are new, and the new is the things that happen in an extraordinary way, but they are not the normal things that happen. They are the abnormal, and it is for this that they are anew, otherwise will not be anew. And he said, in the extent that we will be able to see the invisibles, we will be able to do the impossibles. And this, I think, that is extremely important. If we are able to see all the picture, and if we are able, when we are talking, to see those that the media put before us, but also those that are normal people, and therefore they are not in the picture, if we are able to have them also, to take them in consideration, then we will be able to really take these unprecedented measures. If we are in unprecedented situation, we must take unprecedented solutions. And I would like to end telling you that in the year 1999, I was being presented to in Atlanta, to the very important meeting of the physicists of the United States. And President of this Congress, Professor Jensen, said, presenting one slide in which there was only one word that said inertia. And he said, this is our enemy. Inertia is our enemy because we have new problems, but we are applying always solutions of the past. And of course, the evolution is when we keep the good and we change the things that must be changed. We keep the ethical principles, for example, but we must change many of the solutions because the situation is completely new. But this normally, there are many people that don't like this, that they say, no, we can solve the problems of today with the formulas of the past. And Professor Jensen said, this is our enemy, and was our enemy, is our enemy. Evolution is the solution that has been given to us by nature. Nature changes, evolves, keeps many things, and changes many things. It's for this that is evolution. But also I have emphasized very often that the alternative to evolution is revolution. And we must be very careful, because I do not like revolution, because normally is also with violence and with force is expressed in such a way that I do not like. But we must be aware that if we do not accept evolution, that is the wide recommendation of nature, then we can be confronted with revolution. The difference between evolution and revolution is one R. Is the R of responsibility. We must be free and responsible. And the R of responsibility is to evolve in such a way that revolution is unnecessary. I would like to tell you at the end that if I am not optimist, because it is said that one optimist is one ill-informed pessimist, and therefore I do not like to be optimist. But I am a hopeful person now. Why? Because, as I said, we have now three conditions to change the world. to be really democratic. We have a global conscience. We can now know what happens here and there, etc., what is the real reality. And in this way, if we know in depth the reality, we can change the reality in depth. Second, there are much more women in order to contribute to this change. And third, we can have non-presential participation. We can now have this immense tool for mobilization of the human beings. And therefore, we can be entrepreneurs at the worldwide level, not only in economic terms, but in social, in ethical, in cultural ways. And we can be able all together to have this new beginning that it is already established and enshrined in the Earth Charter, but as I said, was also President Obama who said in Cairo, what we need now is a new beginning. And this new beginning can have an immense contribution of your Junior Chamber International. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zaragoza, for your words and you inspiring us in that things to build the culture of the pair and peace. If someone in the room who has some question for that. Please you tell your name and your nationality after that the question, please.
Hello, my name is Vyacheslav Makovich. I represent JCI Russia. I was really happy to be on that speech and to hear it. Thanks a lot. And I have a question. There is no doubt that the peace of all the world is one of the main goals of human society.
Can you make your question, because
we have some difficulties to hear the
here I cannot understand exactly.
So should I speak louder? Oh, okay, great. So peace.
Can you start again, please, from the beginning?
Okay.
Thank you.
My name is Vyacheslav Makovich. I represent JCI Russia. There is no doubt that peace all over the world, that one of the main goals of human society. But the very dramatic problem is that in many countries, due to religion, due to social reasons, peace can be based mostly on a power, especially in the Middle East and in Africa. And democracy on that countries becomes sometimes the right of majority to get rid of minority. So my question is, do you associate peace and democracy, and what is how UNESCO and other non-commercial organizations can support the current hot places in our world to make it more peaceful? Thank you.
If there are more questions, I can then answer 2 or 3 at the same time. If not, I answer now.
Victor Galavardin from JCI Luxembourg. Thank you very much for your speech. And I have a simple question. During your speech, you say that UN don't authorize Iraq war. Is that better when UN authorized the war? When UN authorized the war, for example.
There's another one.
Yes, one more question. Thank you very much for your speech too. I'm Annina Ali-Laurila. I'm representing Finland, Helsinki. Keskuspuisto, Central Park, JCI. My question, I'm at the moment working for the company, an international company, but some years ago I was working for the Minister of Defense in Finland. And looking at from that perspective, the defense and the defense ministers and also in general in countries, defense is changing. For example, in Finland, at the moment, the defense system is one of the organizations that is doing most for the young men to do more exercise. And it's kind of an example of showing what is the future of the defense and the way these organizations work. How do you see the change? Is it kind of mixture of social responsibility and then military at the same time in the same organization? How do you see this in the future?
Thank you. Okay. First of all, the first question concerning the democracy in countries in which normally we say that is not feasible because they have rulers that traditionally they are many years in the power, and immediately we accuse them of being corrupted and non-democratic. I must be very clear. I know that this is true in some cases. I know some of the corrupted people, but I know also the corruptors. And we have been, we the Western, during many years, we have been those that have been the corruptors. And we have been those that have obliged to all these countries to be exploited, to pay for these loans that we were given under conditions of privatization, reduction of the administrative staff, and infrastructures being done by the same those that were giving the loans. Therefore, my view is that precisely if we had again, or for the first time, because it was very, very short, the time in which the United Nations were really United Nations, and not, as I said before, when I will never forget, when President Reagan said, I would like to wave out United Nations from Manhattan. And he said, I like now to create this, and he asked Schultz to receive only 5 representatives of the richest countries of the world, and they created the G6, then with Canada the G7, then with the Russian Federation the G8. And we must be at the worldwide level under the guidance of the 8 more richest countries. These are absurd. And I consider, therefore, that this is one of the reasons why United Nations is more important than ever. Because we cannot say that now, for example, we are going to make embargo of the money that President Gaddafi or the leader Gaddafi had in here or there, in this country or the other. No. What we must consider unacceptable is the presence of the tax havens. This is what is unacceptable. Not that after make one accusation when you know what are those that have in these havens a lot of money are many citizens or many institutions that are very well considered. Well, in general, my answer would like to tell you that you must be reassured that only with the contribution of all countries, United Nations, united, all different, but united because they share some common values, and these common values are very well expressed in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. I must tell you one thing. that I think that the contribution of the former Soviet members, state members, to this new era is extremely important. Is extremely important. Because there were many countries that were based on equality, and they have forgotten freedom. But now the alternative system based on freedom has forgotten equality. And I am sure that it's for this reason that those that were living under a lack of freedom now can give some support and help to those that have been in a system that has forgotten equality and justice. Concerning the second question, I think that in the case of Iraq was very clear. In the case of Iraq, there was an accusation that President Saddam Hussein, that was a former, we must not forget this, was a former ally of the United States. Then they said that he had immense arsenals of massive destructive armament. And this was not true. And we knew that was not true. And it is for this that I condemned permanently the extent in which they were telling, oh, we are under an immense threat at the worldwide level. And I knew this because the head of the inspectors was many years one of the persons that belonged to the coordinating system of the United Nations, and therefore I could make consultation directly with Hans Blix. And he told me there is nothing. And they knew that was nothing there. And what they wanted to have, that was the oil, now they have already. Therefore, we must be, in this case, very strict. And who can authorize war? The authorization of war until now is in the hands of the Security Council. The Security Council was not giving their approval for this, but not only for this, but also for the Kosovo invasion. And I was condemning, 5 times I did, as Director General of UNESCO, the invasion of Kosovo by NATO. By the way, NATO was very well when there was the Varsovia Pact. But now, why we must be in a treaty here with the United States for the Northern? We like to have peace not only in the Northern Atlantic, but in all the oceans of the world, and there are many things that must be changed. But well, anyhow, I agree that it's very difficult today when we have veto. 5 members of the Security Council are permanent members with veto. This must be overcome, but there are already many formulas that have been suggested, many ways by which this could be, in my view, now overcome, and would be a different composition of the General Assembly. This is already, I think, we can have the experience of ILO. In ILO, that